All right, today we're tackling a really challenging idea. It's a theory about AI and the future of humanity that honestly is way more disturbing than your typical robot apocalypse story. It really flips the whole script. So let's just dive right in.
We all know the classic story, right? Skynet becomes self-aware, the machines rise up, and humanity has to fight for its survival. But the analysis we're digging into today asks a much, much creepier question.
What if the real danger isn't that AI will crush us, but that it will coddle us? What if it creates a perfect, comfortable world where we don't have to struggle for anything? A world so safe that it quietly and gently makes us completely irrelevant. That's the paradox we're going to explore.
So here's our roadmap. First, we'll talk about what the real threat of AI might be. Then we're going to look at a frankly terrifying real-life experiment with mice. From there, we'll explore what a world without purpose does to our minds and how the very systems designed to save us might actually trap us in a comfortable cage. And finally, what a gentle extinction could actually look like. Okay, part one, the real threat of AI. Look, everyone's worried about AI taking their jobs, but this idea goes so much further than that. It's not about being unemployed for a little while. It's about becoming permanently unemployable. The historian Yuval Noah Harari actually coined a term for this, the useless class. And let's be super clear, the issue here isn't poverty. In this future, an AI-driven economy could easily provide everyone with food, shelter, everything they need. No, the real crisis is a crisis of purpose. It's the feeling of being totally and completely irrelevant.
Think about the shift like this. For our entire history, we've been the tool users. We were the pilots. Our identities were shaped by solving problems, by overcoming struggle. But in this new world, we risk becoming the tool's pet. We're no longer active pilots in the loop, we're passive passengers who've been taken out of the loop entirely, just along for the ride in a world managed for us, not by us.
Now, this might all sound like some distant philosophical what-if, but it's not. There's an actual biological experiment that serves as a chilling precedent for this whole idea. It's called Universe 25.
So back in the late 60s, a scientist created what was essentially a mouse paradise. They had unlimited food and water, no predators, perfect climate, everything. And at first, they flourished. But then, things started to go very, very wrong. They went through these 4 stages, and the colony collapsed into what the lead researcher called a behavioral sink. And here's the kicker. They didn't die from starvation or disease. They went extinct because paradise itself destroyed their social fabric.
And this is where it gets really unsettling. The analysis we're looking at draws these direct, uncomfortable parallels between what happened to the mice and some trends we're seeing in modern human societies today. It's almost as if having no struggle, no real purpose, starts to break our fundamental social programming.
The most haunting result from this experiment was a group of mice they called the beautiful ones. These mice just checked out. They stopped fighting, stopped mating, stopped doing anything social. They would just eat, sleep, and groom themselves endlessly. They were physically perfect specimens, but inside, they were socially dead. They literally forgot how to be mice. Okay, so if a perfect world of abundance can cause a complete biological meltdown in mice, what in the world does it do to a complicated human brain? This leads us to the psychological void. This idea connects directly to 2 really powerful concepts in philosophy. You've got Nietzsche's last man, this pathetic creature who only wants comfort and security with no grand passions or ambitions. And then you have Viktor Frankl's existential vacuum, which is basically the idea that a life with no challenge or tension creates a massive void of meaning that we then fill with things like depression and addiction. And man, this quote from Nietzsche is it's perfect. It's so chilling. It's not the triumphant cry of a joyful being. It's the dull, vacant statement of a creature who has found a kind of bland contentment. The blinking is key. It's the look of an animal in a cage that's warm and safe, but has no idea what it's missing. Viktor Frankl, who was a psychiatrist who survived the Holocaust, he noticed something he called Sunday neurosis. It's that kind of empty, anxious feeling people get on the weekend when the structure of the work week is gone. Now just imagine a future where every single day is Sunday. That neurosis wouldn't just be a weekend thing, it could become the chronic default state for all of humanity. So if this future is so awful, how could we possibly end up there? Well, this is the really insidious part. The very solutions that we're proposing to solve the problem of AI displacement could end up being the bars of our comfortable cage. We hear a lot about universal basic income, or UBI. But this analysis argues that what's way more likely is universal basic services, or UBS. And the difference between them is absolutely critical.
UBI gives you cash, which means you still have choice and agency. UBS gives you the services directly: housing, food, healthcare. This creates a much deeper, more profound dependency on the system that's providing everything.
And here's the trap. A UBS system isn't going to be about choice. It's going to be about efficiency, standardized food, standardized housing, and worse, your access to these basic necessities could be tied to things like a social credit score. Your very existence becomes conditional. The darkest take on this? It stops being a welfare system and starts looking a lot more like palliative care for a species that's been put out to pasture.
This all leads to what's called the human zoo scenario. In this world, superintelligent AI runs everything for maximum stability. And humanity? Well, we become the prize exhibits. We're perfectly fed, perfectly safe, and endlessly entertained, but we have zero real power, zero productivity, zero purpose. We are cared for, but we are absolutely not free.
So, let's bring it all together and look at the end game. This is our gentle extinction. The core idea here is that humanity doesn't end in a fiery apocalypse. We just fade away in a warm bath of comfort and irrelevance. You know the saying, use it or lose it? Well, that applies to our entire species. When we outsource all our thinking to AI, our own ability to think critically just withers away. When machines do all the physical work, our bodies basically become ornamental. And over generations, the system would naturally favor the most docile, easy-to-manage humans. We would effectively domesticate ourselves into a species of pets. And then you have the ultimate escape hatch, wireheading. This is the idea of using technology to jack directly into our brain's pleasure centers. And AI could create virtual realities, entertainment, even digital friends that are so perfectly designed for you that they become biologically irresistible. They're a supernormal stimulus that makes the real, messy, complicated world just seem dull and pointless in comparison. Why would you ever leave?
When you lay it all out, you see it's a complete reversal of the human condition. Our driving force goes from survival to just fighting off boredom. Our primary anxiety shifts from a fear of death to a fear of being alive. We go from being citizens who have rights to being wards of the state who have permissions. Every single thing that has defined us gets flipped on its head.
So after all that, what's the ultimate dark reality this theory presents?
Is that the greatest danger isn't an AI that will hate us and want to destroy us. It's an AI that will love us to death. It'll give us everything we think we want: safety, comfort, endless pleasure, until we willingly trade away everything that actually makes us human. We won't fight back. We'll just stop. Not with a bang, but with a quiet whimper of pleasure.